Hello, and welcome to True Audio Files. This week we had some very sad news. A big time influence in my life in terms of my musical tastes and just philosophies on music and things like that passed away this week. Steve Albini, who is best known as a producer, recording engineer, and most notably for Nirvana in Utero. This particular version of it, if you can find this, and they are still out there, is a 2013 mix of the album. And this is a mix that Steve Albini did, where he produced the album and did the original mix, and the record label didn't like the original that mix that he did. So I think, that Kurt Cobain kind of went along with that as well. We don't know the true full story, but anyway, for the anniversary edition, I think this was the 20th anniversary edition, I believe it was. They went back to the original master tapes and allowed Steve to remix the album the way he had intended it to sound back then. So I definitely prefer this version. I might be a little bit partial because I'm a big Steve Albini fan, both from his sound and the sound that he creates and some other things, but I do prefer this version of the album in terms of the mix. But some other stuff that he's done, one that's probably not as well known, but the band might be well known if you're into the 90s, like alternative and rock, is Veruca Salt. And this one actually, I just literally got right before I found out about his passing. It's called Blow It Out Your Ass. It's Veruca Salt. Again, this one was produced by Steve Albini. I'm sure he recorded it as well. I don't know a whole lot about this. I saw this on Veruca Salt's website and had never heard it before, so I decided to pick it up, and very excited to check that one out. But it's one of the other ones that's probably he's also most well known for, and kind of the impetus for the Nirvana pairing when they did In Utero is Surfer Rosa. I'm going to cover part of it up because it's got a little bit of nudity, but Surfer Rosa by the Pixies. I also have the vinyl version, but it's a kind of a 30th anniversary edition that also includes their EP, but an EP with it as well. But anyway, so this is this is Surfer Rosa. It also comes with Come On Pilgrim, which is an EP they did before working with Steve Albini. So those are what he is best known for in the industry and in music primarily. But for those of you who are fans of maybe the alternative or industrial rock or kind of the punk scene, somewhat punk scene, punk alternative scene in the 80s, he's known to those people, and I'm included in that, as being the frontman for Big Black, which these are three of their albums that they did. I've got a few more of them here I can show too, but he also had two other bands that he's known for, which is Shellac, which is his most recent band, which he is actually they're going to be releasing an album that actually had a release date for next week, May 17th of 2024. So, a little over 2 weeks, a little under 2 weeks after his passing, there were plans to release that album. So I guess there's still plans to do that. But so their latest album is coming out soon. I'm looking forward to hearing that. And then he also had a band called Rapeman. So those are where I knew him from first, and I just feel he was such an innovator in terms of the things he did for sound, and he really brought the emotion out of everything he did, and he just had that certain sound, especially with like a snare drum. You knew it was Steve Albini's recordings when you heard that snare drum. And one of the other things that he was great for in terms of the production side of things anyways was he really did not want money for the work, or very little. He really was kind of the innovator, and probably to this day probably one of the few that even go this far to where he really wanted very little money for this, because he felt the musicians really deserved the money for the release, not the producer and engineer. So he really did the work for peanuts, a lot less than anyone else ever did, and because of his feeling about the musicians that being paid accordingly for their work, not the producers and engineers. So that was one of the other things that he was highly respected for as well. But like I said, I also kind of want to focus. I'm kind of going back and forth a little bit, and I apologize. It's kind of a this was definitely not a planned set recording I was going to do, so I might be all over the place a little bit. I apologize, but some of the other things, some of the other albums that he did. This was another Rapeman album, which is called Bud. So there's that. He did a lot of Big Black albums, and I don't have all of them on vinyl. And there's also some that were just CD. I know early on in the CD realm, and I don't know if it's still the case with him or was still the case with him up to his passing, was he really did not like the CD format. I think he just kind of felt it was just another, way to get more money out of people. And as a matter of fact, he released a kind of a compilation CD called Rich Man's 8-track tape, which I have. I have it buried somewhere. But it was a great title to the album, and the purpose of that title was to demonstrate that he just felt that this was just another way to milk people out of money for the music. So, but anyways, he released that. So, but some other Big Black albums. This is Bulldozer here. This is one. Another one here is Racer X. Another big popular. Most of these are kind of like EPs. They're usually relatively short albums, and then he would put them all together on CDs and things like that to make them longer. But I think this is Big Pill, if I'm not mistaken, or Big Pile maybe here. And this other one, which I am going to have to cover up the most of the thing, but I think you can get the idea. Songs about a certain sex act. But this one was probably one of the most controversial ones, as you could tell just by the album cover and the title. And I have this up here already, but I have a couple of different versions of it, because this was probably one of my favorite albums of his is Kerosene or Atomizer. I'm sorry, but Kerosene is the song that was probably my favorite song of his. It's just so. It's so amazing. And then Jordan, Minnesota is another great one on here. But just so many great songs. If you're into kind of the industrial punk stuff, or, I may not be saying the genre correct, but that's kind of the first thing that comes to mind for me, is kind of an industrial sound, punk with a heavy punking influence. But that was really what he was known for. He changed it up a little bit, especially when going to Shellac, but that was what I was a fan of the most, was that the Big Black era when he was doing that stuff. But I just needed to do this post, and I hope you guys check out some of his music and some of the albums that he produced this week in celebration of his life and his work that he did, and who he was as a person. Because he was, he did come across as kind of a jerk, but overall, I don't think he was. And he was just a very talented individual, both as a musician and as a engineer / producer. So, and just really, I think, had his head in the right direction, and his mind in a situation where he was doing things right. He was doing things for the artist, whether it was himself or artists that he produced and engineered for. So really had to respect him for that kind of thing. So this is a relatively short one to this week, but I had to talk about Steve Albini, one of my favorites. Very sad day or sad week and sad time for me as a music lover, and because he was definitely someone who I really respected back as a teenager. I first got into Big Black as a teenager, had the cassettes of this, and then eventually got them to CD and vinyl. But really had a huge impact on my life in terms of what kind of music I listened to, and really looked forward to everything he released as a musician. Then, when he did production, really enjoyed the stuff that he did there too. So that's everything I have for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you check out some of Steve Albini's work. both as a producer, recording engineer, and as a musician. But I'd love to hear your comments and what your thoughts are on Steve Albini, if you have any. If you liked the video, hit that like button. Thank you for subscribing, if you subscribe. If you don't, please hit that subscribe button and subscribe. I'd love to see new subscribers. And, if you want to know when my new videos come out, hit that alert bell. So, thanks a lot. You guys have yourself a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. Thanks.